what we're facing now, that's currently in the news, is bird flu. 6 different herds of cattle have been infected with bird flu. First time in history. First time in history. It's jumped from birds to large mammals, cattle, from Idaho, and it's now got scientists on high alert.
This is from Nature. It says bird flu outbreak in U.S. cows. Why scientists are concerned. A virus has killed hundreds of millions of birds, has now infected cattle in 6 U.S. states, but the threat to humans is currently low.
Currently low, because if it jumps to pigs, we already know that viruses that infect pigs can infect very likely humans. So cows and pigs are oftentimes in the same farms.
Mm-hmm. And if it jumps to pigs, we're in trouble.
Yeah, we're in big trouble because that's just one species away. Historically in virology, swine viruses, H1N1 is swine flu. We have found high activity at the BioShield program of agarikon also against H1N1 and H5N1.
Is it possible to give this to cows?
Don't know. Don't know. So my concern, and those of other virologists that I've been in contact with for literally decades now, is it's strange that 6 herds of cattle from Idaho to Oklahoma to Texas would spontaneously get bird flu. It's not like the cattle made contact with each other. So there's more than one epicenter. When you have these zoonotic centers where the virus can jump to larger mammals, then you have many, ground zeros, for the virus to emerge. So if it jumps to swine or to pigs or hogs, the increased likelihood that it jumps to people. So it's a very big concern. With Wuhan, okay, it came out of one city, one location. But this is showing epidemiologically that the virus is jumping to larger mammals simultaneously. Right now, it doesn't have the mutation, and so there's very low risk. Let's be very clear about that. There's very low risk, but virologists are in extremely high alert because of this unusual pattern of sudden occurrence, first time ever. It's jumped to seals and bears, of all things, and it's devastated hundreds of millions of birds around the world.
Did they have any idea where this? It originated with birds.
Yes, it's called bird flu.
And do they think that it's just birds traveling to these different herds?
Generally speaking, that's the modality that most. But
so they just fly around, give it to new cows.
They go to a pond. They're co-mingling the virus and drinking water. Egrets sit on top of cows and get bugs off the backs of large mammals, etc. So migratory birds, of course, is the most obvious vector. But when you have factory farming of chickens and hundreds of thousands of chickens this past year, I think hundreds of millions of chickens, if you look it up, have been euthanized in the past year because they did get H5N1. And so the chickens start sneezing and they get sick, and it's extremely communicable. So it spreads throughout the chicken farms very quickly. So the USDA, NIH, everyone involved in biosecurity is extremely concerned about this new event, which just happened in the past few weeks. And that report I showed you just showed up yesterday in Nature as well. So if it mutates, it's a whole new pandemic threat, and it's much more severe. The estimates from humans getting bird flu, H5N1, is up to 70% mortality. 70%. Not 0.1% or 0.01% with COVID. It's 70%. Now, some people say 40%. Okay, you reduce it by 30%. We do have vaccines already in the pipeline that are anticipating this, so that's the good news. The flu virus, virome as it's called, has been very well characterized. But the mutation rate is what's of concern. And since there's so many different localities that are spontaneously infecting cows, this virus is on the move. And that is the concern that we all have. And so by boosting community immunity, we can then have more immune cells to produce antibodies that make the vaccines more effective. And the idea is you can help avoid vaccine evasion by having your endogenous immune system at its peak performance.
Now, how does this stuff work without vaccines?
We have early evidence on how it works without vaccines, and I want to be very respectful, but I also have to be very professional. I am not at liberty to discuss those results for a number of reasons, one of which the data, as I mentioned, is a little clouded because the people that we were bringing in to the first study, we didn't have them as well characterized. But clearly, agarikon on turkey tail, with the evidence that was presented, again, September 23rd, 2023, at the Georgetown University School of Medicine, these two charts I can present to you because they were publicly presented. We do have a paper in process that's being submitted to a journal, and it has to go through the acid test, to peer review, et cetera. But there's a team of us, and we're very excited about this research results because I'm hoping it's not going to be the vaccine of the month scene where you just are constantly getting new vaccines for every variant. If you can have your endogenous immune system, on the ready, then it can then have an innate response to these viral infections that will ameliorate their spread.